Welcome to the Sense Check Lab, where we stop the scroll and examine everyday claims through the lens of real science, tested theory, and rigorous research. No hype, no hearsay, just sense-checked reality. Today, we're tackling a question hiding in, well, probably nearly every bathroom drawer. Are electric toothbrushes actually better than manual ones? Or are we just, buying more buzz for our buck without real benefits?
It's a great question, and we've done a true deep dive into the research to try and answer that for you. Our sources include some really comprehensive meta-analyses from places like Cochrane looking at huge pools of data, and we've also got significant real-world long-term studies. For example, there's an impressive 11-year follow-up from University of Medicine Greifswald.
Okay, 11 years, that's serious. And we'll also look at kids, right? And the new smart brushes.
Exactly. We'll examine specific pediatric studies, see how electric brushes impact children, and yes, dive into the cutting-edge data on smart connected brushes too.
Great. And stick around, everyone, because at the very end, we'll deliver our definitive Sense Check Lab takeaway. So let's unpack this first. When we talk about a toothbrush being better, what are we actually measuring here?
Yeah, good clarification. It primarily boils down to two critical things. How well it removes plaque, that sticky bacterial film on your teeth.
Right.
And its impact on gingivitis, which is basically gum inflammation or bleeding.
Got it. So plaque and gum health.
Yeah.
And you mentioned starting with big reviews, the meta-analyses.
That's right, because they give us the broadest view. What's really fascinating is the consistent message you see. Take, for instance, a landmark 2014 Cochrane review. Now, a meta-analysis like this, it gathers and combines data from lots of individual studies.
So you get a bigger, more reliable picture.
Precisely. This one combined data from 56 studies, over 5,000 people.
Yeah.
And the finding, powered toothbrushes consistently reduce both plaque and gingivitis more effectively than manual ones.
Consistently, both short-term and long-term.
Yep. Both in the short term, so like 1 to 3 months, and importantly over the long term too, so beyond 3 months.
Okay, so when we say more effectively, what kind of numbers are we talking about? Is it a huge difference?
Well, in the short term, they noted an 11% reduction in plaque and a 6% reduction in gingivitis.
Okay. 11% and 6%.
Now, an 11% plaque reduction, that could mean, fewer spots for cavities to start, and 6% less gingivitis, maybe less bleeding when you brush.
Right, those visible signs.
But here's where it gets really interesting. In the long term, those numbers actually jump. We're talking a 21% reduction in plaque and an 11% reduction in gingivitis.
Wow, okay, that's almost double for plaque reduction long term.
It is. Now, the reviewers did say the clinical importance of those exact percentages was technically unclear.
Meaning they couldn't directly say this stops X number of cavities.
Exactly. But the statistical significance, absolutely undeniable. The electric brushes were just consistently doing a better job based on the data they reviewed.
And did they find any particular type of electric brush worked best? Because there are quite a few out there.
Yes, they did. The review specifically highlighted that rotation oscillation brushes.
Okay, the ones with the small round heads that spin back and forth.
Those are the ones. They showed a statistically significant reduction in both plaque and gingivitis at both short and long time points. So that suggests a real advantage for that specific type of brush action. It seems that cupping and sweeping motion is pretty effective.
That's really compelling already. But you mentioned newer research too, 2024 meta-analysis.
Yeah, exactly. Published in the International Dental Journal just this February. And this one really dug into the specific technologies, directly comparing oscillating, rotating, sonic, and manual brushes.
And what did that find? Did it confirm the Cochrane findings?
It did, and actually went further. The findings were quite stark. Oscillating, rotating brushes had a significantly higher percentage of people transitioning to good gingival health, a remarkable 72%.
72%.
Yeah.
Compared to what?
Compared to only 21% for manual brushes and 54% for sonic brushes.
Okay, huge difference there.
And it didn't stop there.
Yeah.
They also showed greater reductions in bleeding sites, 52% more than manual, 29% more than sonic.
Wow.
And for plaque reduction, superior again, 19% over manual, 5% over sonic. And interestingly, the most advanced oscillating rotating models showed even better results.
So it really drives home that point.
Yeah.
It's not just electric versus manual. It's also about the technology within the electric brush.
Precisely. That specific tech can make a meaningful difference.
Okay, that's a crucial distinction. But, these are meta-analyses, often combining shorter studies. Does this actually hold up in the real world over the long haul? do people stick with it and see lasting benefits?
That's the critical question, isn't it? And we have some really strong data on that from an 11-year observational cohort study. This was done by University Medicine Greifswald in Germany.
The one you mentioned earlier, 11 years.
Yeah, published in 2019, they followed over 2,800 adults meticulously, assessing the long-term impact for over a decade.
Incredible commitment. So after all that time, what did they find? Did the benefits last?
They absolutely did. They found that powered toothbrush users experienced significantly less progression of gum disease. They used technical terms like mean probing depth and clinical attachment loss.
Basically, their gums stayed healthier, less recession and inflammation.
Exactly. But here's the real wow moment from this study, I think. Electric toothbrush users retained 19.5% more teeth than manual toothbrush users over those 11 years.
Hold on, nearly 20% more teeth.
19.5%. Think about that. Almost a fifth more of your own teeth still in your mouth after a decade of using an electric brush compared to manual.
That is genuinely massive. That impacts everything: eating, confidence, overall health.
It really does. And they also had 17.7% less progression in what dentists call DMFS, decayed, missing, and filled tooth surfaces. So fewer problems overall.
But could other things explain that? Like maybe the electric toothbrush users were just generally healthier or went to the dentist more or had better diets? Did they control for that?
They did, and that's a real strength of this study. They rigorously adjusted for a whole range of factors: age, sex, education, how often people brushed, dental visits, BMI, smoking, diabetes, even physical activity.
Okay, so they tried to isolate the effect of the toothbrush itself.
Exactly. And even after controlling for all those potential confounding variables, the benefits of the powered toothbrushes remained statistically significant.
So it suggests a real long-term protective effect.
It really does. And it lines up with some broader population studies from Germany, too, which have also pointed towards these benefits and maybe a growing awareness of oral hygiene tech.
Okay, so for adults, the case seems pretty strong, especially long-term. What about kids? Parents listening might be wondering if it's worth getting one for their children.
Yeah, and this is where things get really interesting for tailored advice. The pediatric studies consistently show significant advantages for kids using electric brushes.
Really? Consistently?
Yes. For example, there's a study coming out in 2025. The results are already available, looking at kids aged 3 to 10. They compared an oscillating rotating electric brush to a manual one. The results with the electric brushes were remarkably better.
Could you give us some numbers on that? What kind of improvement did they see?
Sure. For the younger kids, aged 3 to 6, where parents are typically doing the brushing,
Right.
over half, 55.7%, had greater whole mouth plaque reduction, and 34.3% greater reduction way in the back, which can be tough to reach.
Okay, that's pretty good, especially for those tricky back teeth.
But for the older kids, aged 7 to 10, the ones generally brushing themselves, the results were even more dramatic.
How dramatic.
Get this, 94.5% had greater whole mouth plaque reduction, and an incredible 108.4% greater plaque reduction in the back of the mouth.
Oh, over double the plaque removal in the back for the older kids.
That's what the data showed. Plus, they also saw 14% less whole mouth gingivitis.
That is a huge jump when they start brushing themselves. Why do you think that is? Is it just bad technique with the manual?
It likely comes down to a mix of compliance and, importantly, they're developing fine motor skills. You know, kids' technique can be, well, enthusiastic, but inconsistent.
I can picture that.
An electric toothbrush kind of standardizes the action. It makes up for less developed motor skills and ensures more consistent plaque removal, even if their hand movements aren't perfect. That huge 108% figure suggests the electric brush is really compensating effectively once they're in charge.
So it's acting like training wheels almost, but effective ones.
In a way, yes. And a 2023 systematic review looking at lots of pediatric studies confirmed this again, showing an average 13.9% reduction in plaque index with electric toothbrush use in kids overall.
So it's not just about kids then, is it? It sounds like it could help anyone who struggles with the physical act of brushing effectively.
Precisely. That's a key point. It includes children, sure, but also think about older adults who might have lost some dexterity, or people with conditions like arthritis, or even someone recovering from an arm injury.
Right, makes sense.
The consistent motion, the built-in timers that many have, they help compensate for varying technique or difficulty moving the brush correctly. It helps people achieve better hygiene without needing perfect manual control. It's empowering.
Okay, moving beyond just basic electric, we're seeing toothbrushes get really smart now. Connected apps, real-time feedback. What's the science say about those? Are they just fancy gadgets or do they actually add value?
That's a really interesting, fast-moving area, and yeah, it raises that question. Is the tech just a gimmick? But recent studies suggest maybe not. There were a couple of notable 2025 studies, one in the Journal of Medical Internet Research, another in BMC Oral Health. They looked specifically at what they called interactive telemonitoring toothbrushes, or ITTs.
OTT, so these are the ones that connect to your phone.
Exactly. They give you real-time feedback, often visually on an app. Some even involved weekly reviews by dental professionals in the studies. And they compared these ITTs to standard oscillating, rotating electric brushes and manual brushes.
Did the smart features make a difference?
Yeah, they did, significantly. The studies found these ITTs really improved oral hygiene management. For instance, one key score for plaque, the simple hygiene score, dropped substantially over 6 months in the ITT group,
Okay.
while it actually increased, meaning got worse in the manual toothbrush group. Another plaque index also decreased much more in the ITT group than in both the standard electric and manual groups.
So the real-time coaching actually works.
It seems to guide people to a more effective, clean session by session.
That really could be a game changer for improving technique. Did people feel like they got better at brushing?
They absolutely did. A really high percentage, 92% in the ITT group and 76% in the standard oscillating rotating group, reported their brushing ability had improved.
Interesting that even the standard electric users felt improvement, but much more so with the smart feedback.
Right, and the ITT user specifically pointed to the standard brushing training, that real-time feedback, as the most helpful feature.
Makes sense.
And there was another fascinating finding, kind of at the microscopic level. The studies looked at the bacteria in the mouth. They found the proportion of beneficial anti-caries, microbiota, the good bugs that help fight cavities, actually increased over time in the ITT group. But in the manual toothbrush group, it consistently decreased.
Wow. So the smart brush feedback might even be influencing the balance of bacteria in your mouth towards a healthier state.
That's what the data suggests. It really highlights how powerful that real-time feedback can be for improving technique, making sure you brush long enough, and ultimately lowering your plaque score.
So the tech gains seem real, but I have to imagine consistency is vital here, right? You have to keep using the app, paying attention to the feedback.
That is a crucial insight, absolutely. While the initial improvements were clear, the studies did note something important. Participant interest in using the apps and engaging with the feedback tended to drop off a bit at the 3-month and 6-month check-ins.
The novelty wears off.
Perhaps. It highlights that sustained engagement is key. It's not just about having the cool tech, it's about consistently using it and integrating that feedback into your daily habit to get those ongoing benefits.
So even the smartest brush needs you to show up and pay attention.
Exactly. The best tool still requires consistent effort from the user.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground. From those big meta-analyses, the really impressive long-term grief-swallowed study, kids, special needs, right up to the latest smart brush tech. It feels like it's time for the sense check lab verdict. Bringing it all together, what does this mean for our bathroom drawers? What's the bottom line?
Okay, let's synthesize it. Here's what the bulk of the evidence tells us. Electric toothbrushes, particularly those with that oscillating rotating technology, consistently show a modest but statistically significant edge over manual brushes in reducing both plaque and gingivitis.
Modest but significant.
Yes. And that benefit becomes especially clear when you look at the long-term studies. We saw that electric brush users tend to have better gum health progression over time, and quite strikingly, they retain more of their own teeth over a decade or more.
That tooth retention figure really stands out. So if I'm maybe not the most diligent or technically perfect brusher with a manual brush, and let's be honest, who really is, twice a day, every day, an electric one can help compensate.
That's precisely the key takeaway, I think. Look, if you used a manual brush with perfect technique, for the full 2 minutes hitting every surface correctly, consistently, twice a day,
No.
you could get excellent results, no doubt.
That the reality is.
The reality is very few people actually maintain that perfect technique consistently over the long run. It's just human nature. Electric brushes, especially the ones with timers to make sure you brush long enough, pressure sensors so you don't damage your gums by pressing too hard, or those smart feedback features. They help standardize the whole process. They make it easier for almost anyone, kids, older adults, people with dexterity issues, or just, average folks, to brush more effectively for the right amount of time, and crucially, with fewer common mistakes.
So it's like it raises the baseline for everyone, making good brushing more achievable.
That's a great way to put it. It makes effective brushing more accessible.
Okay, so the final call from the Sense Check Lab, that original question, is the buzz worth the buck?
Our verdict is this. Ultimately, it's not just the brush itself. It's fundamentally about how you use whatever brush you have. That's always paramount. But for the vast majority of people, the evidence strongly suggests that electric toothbrushes provide a significant advantage. They help you brush better, for longer, and with far fewer technique errors than most people typically make with a manual brush.
Especially if they have those guiding features.
Exactly, especially if they're equipped with timers, pressure sensors, or smart guidance. And if that consistent improved performance leads to healthier gums, fewer cavities, fewer fillings, and that incredible benefit of keeping more of your own teeth for longer,
Yeah?
then yes, that's absolutely a win. And in our view, that makes the investment worthwhile for most people. It helps bridge the gap between knowing how to brush well and actually doing it effectively day in and day out.
A clear verdict then. It's not magic, but it helps most of us do a better job.
Yeah.
That's it for today's Sense Check. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of toothbrushes. If you're walking away with something new, or maybe you finally decided which toothbrush is going to stay on your counter, consider sharing this deep dive with someone else who might benefit from a better brushing routine. Until next time, keep checking the science, not just the box.